Every week, we profile someone in our region who is making a difference in people's lives as part of 90.5 WESA Celebrates. Lueana Coward has faced tragedies unfathomable to any parent, but she's channeled her pain into helping others in the same situation.
The grief of losing a child, especially as a murder victim, when they're so full of life and then a few minutes later they're lifeless, that grief sticks with you. Always.
Sadly, not only did Lueana Coward, mother of 6, experience the grief of losing her oldest son, Harry, 13 years ago, her second son, James, died 4 years later. And tragically, she received the terrible news again 2 years ago that her only surviving son, Don, was killed, all murdered, all under the age of 20.
It's an emptiness that nothing else could fill. It's like a labor pain that never goes away. When I need to cry, I cry. And in my weakest time is where my strength comes from. When I began to work through my grief, letting myself, society at large say, oh, don't cry no more, or don't do this. But no, I differ that, because for me, I need to always remember.
Lueana found strength through her spirituality and realized she needed to help other women who were going through the same loss. After the death of her second son, she formed a support group, R.E.L.I.F. It stands for Recognizing Every Lingering Inward Emotional Feeling.
And actually, that's exactly what happens at our groups once a month. It's a place where a person can best understand you because they went through the same thing. It's never over, but it's times and moments when things get stronger and things get weak, but that's where we lean on one another. My first son being murdered, he said, his last words was, tell my mom I love her. Some said, oh, but you know what? Those words carry me through my happy times, my sad times.
I don't know how Lueana does it. I mean, within an 11-year span, she lost all 3 of her boys. She's just an inspiration for everyone. It's an everyday struggle. I mean, there's times I'd be sitting at work and I'd just start crying.
2 years ago, Wanda Sims' 20-year-old son was shot and killed while sitting in his car. He was the youngest of her 3 children. She attends the R.E.L.I.F support group regularly.
It really helps. It helps a lot. I mean, because you can say how you feel, and other people understand how you feel, and they feel your pain as well as you feel theirs.
The hope that she give other mothers, they see that because they come to her in despair. But when they see her and they see her talking and they see her, offering, things for other people that are going through the same thing she went through, and they're like, oh, she do that. If she could do that, then I possibly can do it.
Valerie Dixon is a regular member of the R.E.L.I.F support group. Her only child was murdered 12 years ago.
You're going to have your dark days, those moments that you don't feel like you want to get up in the morning. And so the R.E.L.I.F group helps you with techniques on when that day comes, these are some things you can do.
So anytime, she finds out that there's something going on as far as tragedy in McKeesport, she goes out to the parents, to speak to the parents. Anytime you need her, she's there.
Grief can hit you at any given time. It's no certain time. You can wake up in the middle of the night. I tell people now, call me in the middle of the night if you have to. It's like, this is my passion. This is my mission. I might be sleepy, but keep talking to me. I'll wake up. As long as you keep the love alive and the memories alive of them, you'll always feel close to them. And hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the R.E.L.I.F Talk Show. Thanks for joining in tonight. And I would like to say that R.E.L.I.F means recognizing every lingering inward emotional feeling. Tonight, we have some very interesting guests, and I'm glad that you joined in. And I am the director and the producer of the show, and I thank you all once again for joining in. If you want information about how to get on the show, or how to get information about the R.E.L.I.F support group, you can always email me at lueanacoward@gmail.com. And I would like to introduce the co-director of the show, Miss Valerie Dixon.
Hello again, and welcome to the R.E.L.I.F TV Talk Show. Tonight, we're winding down on Black History Month, and we really wanted to get some people in here that can really talk to you about some good work that's going on in the city of Pittsburgh and even beyond Allegheny County, and people that are dedicated to try to, even out what's going on in regards to the violence and who's doing something about it, who's trying to do something about it, and who's encouraging someone else to do about it. And again, I'm Valerie Dixon. I'm the executive director of the PACT Initiative and the co-producer of the Relief TV talk show, as well as the co-convener of the Coalition Against Violence and the vice chair of BPEP. And tonight our segment is really going to be interesting. We're going to talk about a lot of things that you can get involved in. Sometimes we sit at home and we don't know exactly what it is that we can do. But there are some things out there that's floating around that you can be involved, and you can use that energy where you see things are going wrong in our society, in our community, and you can definitely do something about it. So tonight, what I want to do is I want to introduce my friend, and someone who's truly became my best friend in this journey that I've had since I lost my son over 15 years ago. This man, from the moment I met him, the energy and the drive that he had, I used to think that nobody knew what we went through unless it was somebody that went through what we went through. But he has just as much passion to see change happen in the community. And he's been doing this for longer than I've been alive, almost.
In other words, I'm old.
But I want to introduce one of my best and dearest friends, Mr. Tim Stevens. Welcome so much to the show, Tim.
My pleasure. My honor to be with you, for both of you.
Thank you for coming.
We've been talking about doing this for a while.
Yes,
For a long while. And this won't be the last time either, because there's so much going on. We won't be able to get it in.
A lot going on.
This whole show, for sure. They'll probably close the show down before we can get finished.
But I'd like to do it then, because we're going to honor this Black History Month, and this is, we're dedicating this show to Black History Month.
Right.
So I'm so honored to have Mr. Stevens here today, and also all the rest of the BPAP.
And so what is your title of BPEP? I know it's changed through the years, but you have always, you started BPEP. And when did it start?
Officially, May 21st, 1986. So we're 30, going on 31 years of age as an organization.
Wow.
Which I was 31 years. But that's another. But a lot of organizations and movements start out of upset.
Yes, I
The two of you are living examples of that. As you said, we met soon after the death of your son, June 25th, 2001, right?
Yes, he was
And
really
we met soon
It
after
means a
that.
lot.
And the fact that you do what you do at the level of passion that you do it, and I know from being with you that you have those moments, as you've shared with me, and sometimes I see it.
Yeah.
And I can't even imagine the moments you have. And the fact that both of you have taken tragedies and created yourself as examples of how people can take tragedies and and then have a commitment to build society in a different direction, and use your tragedies as a moment for everybody to pause and say, well, they can be in the spirit that both of you are so often. And if you can not be in just constant upset,
Right.
but actually
Right.
be human beings who inspire others, and I know you do,
Yeah.
that is a gift that you both bring to all of us.
thank you.
Now, I come to the table with a certain passion that I've had for 4.5 decades. And hopefully that won't go anywhere anytime soon. I don't know how I would react to what you've experienced. I honestly don't.
And we definitely hope you never do, and that's why, the work that you do out there, the passion that you do it, you engage others, you ignite others to want to do things, and that's powerful. Everybody doesn't have that, and what I've seen you do you exhaust me just watching you.
I get on my own nerves. I get on my own nerves. Quiet. So I kid about it, I've kind of been blessed and cursed at the same time with initiating things and having a vision to do and to encourage others to do and have some people actually get involved. Mm-hmm. But I feel that sometimes people compliment me and I give me an award or two, whatever, that's fine. And I appreciate it. But honestly, I'm wired that way. I couldn't stop it if you paid me.
Yeah, right.
And what I want to see are more people who literally cannot stop.
Yeah.
Because, now, everybody watching the show hasn't heard me say this. So people who know me know I repeat myself. I'll repeat this. When I grew up in the Hill District on Wiley Avenue, between Morgan and Francis, 2708 Wiley Avenue, I did not know, and most people I talked to in my age group did not know one child or even one young adult who was killed by violence. Not one. Now, when we go to schools, Kevin back here, Kevin Carmichael, one of our youth summit coordinators and anti-violence advocates, Sharon McIntosh, same positions, and Lois McClendon, who's lead writer, editor of this Coalition Against Violence document that's taken a few years to write with 300 plus people. When we go into the schools and you ask the kids, certainly in the urban setting, how many, do any of you know any kids have been killed? Usually every hand goes up. How many know 5? Am I right? Most hands go up. Sometimes if you say, do you know 10 or more? A few hands go up. And again, I could not say that growing up in the Hill District when I was a single-digit child. And unfortunately, that reality of the numbers that I just shared have become commonplace. And I have said this in some rallies and vigils, that unfortunately those of us, certainly in the urban setting, have come to a point where we're within 3 degrees of death. You are the first, both of you, because you've lost someone to violence personally. In this case, your children.
Yes.
A couple years ago, when some of you know I'm a jazz vocalist, and one of my jazz friends and blues singers, one of the very best, Leroy Wooford, was shot through a door on a Friday night. And I actually moved up to #1 because, in the sense that I knew him personally.
Yes.
It wasn't a hearsay person that somebody told me about. Well, what do I say about 3 degrees of death? The second degree is you know someone who's lost someone. So when I met you, I was already in category 2.
Okay.
When Leroy Wooford was killed, because I knew him personally, I moved up to 1.
Yeah.
Not the one that you are, one where you personally lost a child, but I knew someone. The third degree is people who know someone who knows someone who lost someone. That may sound kind of confusing, but think about it. People who know someone who knows someone who lost someone. So within 3 degrees of death. I'm not happy to say that, but that's the reality, and that's why the work that the two of you are doing as parents who have lost people to violence, what we do as the Coalition Against Greater Pittsburgh Coalition Against Violence, and you as the co-chair with me, is important. The work that we did to create this document, Strategies for Change, Building More Peaceful Communities. It's great to have a document that Mark Morial, the national president of the Urban League, called one of the most comprehensive in the country, the 2nd edition, and this is the 3rd now. That's fine, but it doesn't mean a darn thing if it's not utilized, and that's what we're pulling ourselves together collectively to make sure this document does not sit on tables and just gather dust.
That's right.
But people look at those 838 strategies.
That's
You
right,
counted them.
838, yes it
She
is.
counted them. Must have been bored one day. 838 strategies.
If somebody say, I don't know what to do,
That's
hey, there's
And-
800 options.
That's it. And before we move on to others, I just want to make, and I want this repeated a few times during the show if we may. People want to find the document, we can download separate sections of the document or the entire document. Just go to bpep.net. Everybody knows www, but b-pep.net, and then you go and click on the section for the Coalition Against Violence, including our sections in the back, which are our addendums. We also have you and the police, what to do when stopped by the police. I know Kevin's been working very closely with the police lately, and we had a great session just recently of Adult Talk About, which included that piece, you and the police, because we want violence to end between the community and the police and the community.
Exactly.
We want it to end between black folks on black folks, white folks on white folks,
Right.
whoever.
Right.
We
Because
want
all
it
life
to end.
matter.
All life matters.
Am I right?
Exactly.
So I'll hold up on that at that point.
Well, folks, we're gonna take a short break, and I wanna say, hey, it's gonna be a good show. We already had to kick off with Mr. Tim Stevens, and really a good food for thought. And I want everyone to call a friend and tell a friend to call a friend, and tune back in. We'll be right back. On April the 16th, my only son I had left was murdered in the city of Duquesne. And what was really hurtful, 10 years before that, his brother was murdered on one end of the street, and he was murdered 10 years later on the other end of the street. That was an extra punch of grief for me, because I'm like, wow, 10 years ago I was on this corner, and my 18-year-old was killed. Now, 10 years after that, I'm on this corner, and my 19-year-old was killed. I'm still going through the grief. It hit me like a tornado. All what I didn't feel the first time, I feel this third time. And the second time, it's just like all of it just hit me, because I feel like I had this last dollar in my hand, holding tight. I don't know if you ever been down to your last dollar, but I'm holding tight. And somebody just ripped it right out of my hand. See, they don't understand death is a permanent thing. When they point that trigger at somebody out in the street, that ain't just that dude in front of you. From the grandma on down to the sibling. You know what I mean? They all affected by it. So that's what I'm going through right now. I'm going through grief, but I don't know what to say anymore about this violence. I have my share. And it's only by the grace of God that I stand. Right here on this here, this is where your last son, and then 10 years ago, down here is where my first son. 10 years later, I'm on the same street with the same tragedy, but this time it's my last one. I don't have no more sons for them to kill. No more sons for the streets to kill. No more.
Hello, welcome back to the R.E.L.I.E.F Talk Show. That, again, is recognizing every lingering inward emotional feeling, and we're glad you tuned back in. And I hope we call somebody to tell them to turn the channel and watch this show. Something very interesting they might hear this evening. I want to thank our guests again, Mr. Tim Stevens. BPEP, are you the president, the chair, the
Chairman, CEO, all that good stuff.
chairman and CEO?
The grand poobah.
The grand poobah.
Or some such thing. Poobah.
And,
Poobah. That's right. We just looked that up.
And
Poobah.
we brought some of our team from BPEP here, just to share a little bit of what we are actually doing. Our document is to encourage others in their area of interest or expertise to get involved, try to implement something from throughout the document. But we were challenged to create something ourselves as well. And so in that work, talk about a little bit of some of the things that we are actually doing and introduce some of our lovely guests this evening.
These lovely people, so they can say that.
Yeah.
I want to mention what's on the bottom of this document. Creating long-term solutions to deep-rooted problems, moving from complaint to possibility, planning to implementation and mobilization. Too often we stay in a negative mode. Now all we do is complain. Complaints get you nowhere. It just makes you more depressed.
Yes.
I'm serious than you already were.
Exactly.
So we take these words as being very powerful. Moving from complaint to possibility. Planning. When we worked on this book, there was a lot of planning. Years. A few years.
planning.
Years.
And now the focus that we're all on, that we're doing, implementation, mobilization. We don't need to write one more strategy. Doesn't mean you can't come up with another one, but we pretty much covered the waterfront.
Yes,
Yeah, we
yeah.
did.
Lois Tony McClendon, I call her the most patient woman in America. With those first
Yes,
52 sessions that we created this initial first edition document. 52 sessions, including the initial press conference of February 8th, 07, that we did with One Hood, and then we didn't, we call press conferences, you don't know what's going to happen. Did I know what was going to happen? No. 51 more sessions in 13 months.
Yeah.
Think about that,
Yeah.
to create the initial 70-page document. This young lady, when I say the most patient, we would change stuff. She would write stuff
yes.
sometimes, am I right? 3 or 4, and
Yes.
Valerie and I would facilitate most of the
Yeah.
conversation. Rewrite things 2 to 4 times. And we sit around the table, and what? How do we decide the final product?
Well, you would assign someone, like you
Sometimes.
assigned me to do the role of the family, and you assigned someone to do the community manifesto.
Ernie Bay.
So we went and wrote it up, and then we would take it back to the meetings, and then everybody
Tear it
around
apart.
the table,
Tear it apart.
Yes.
whether you did it one time or 20 times,
That's it.
look at what we've written, and it was actually
Word
really
for word.
collectively written.
Yes,
Really?
it was.
Yes,
very
it
It's a
much
very
so.
grassroots
Very so.
written,
Very much.
written document, very
And
comprehensive.
that's
Absolutely.
literally true.
And incorporated the voice of the whole community.
kinds of people.
The whole community.
Right.
We started out 300
Yeah.
people, and at this point, our third edition, I can only assume it's over 500 people that have given input to this document. So
Yes, they do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is our third edision.
Very
Yeah,
powerful.
hopefully our last edition.
She always said.
But it is.
Hopefully it will be for a while.
Extremely comprehensive.
Well, we have enough now for people
This
to
will
work
last
with.
us. This will last us.
and new topics come up because when we
Sure.
first started it, social media wasn't a thing then, like
No,
it
it
is
wasn't
now.
like it is now.
And we had to incorporate that because
Right, and
now
that-
we have obtained violence
Right,
through social
right, and that's,
media.
I'm gonna say, unfortunately, it drives a lot of the violence is the
It
social
does.
media.
Yeah, today.
Big
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So if a person out there in TV land would like to know how to get one of these books, how would they go about getting it? Once again, where would they be able to pick it up at, or go online and get it, or whatever?
Yeah.
Because I think every school, every support group, every city need one of these.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
our motto.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you can come to one of our Coalition Against Violence events. We're having one coming up in March 7th, the citywide prayer service. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Or you can go online
Okay.
at bpep.net. And the Coalition Against Violence, the Greater Pittsburgh Coalition Against Violence, we have our own website as well. And it is www.coalitionagainstviolence.net, all one word. And you can simply go online and access it. And you can download the entire document, or you can go and find a section and download that. You just need to let us know what you're using it for, how you used it. And that's actually, just let us know that it's being used.
Yeah.
Because we
Yes.
want to talk about implementation and mobilization. Because we've got, how many
Yeah,
did we
we
say?
did.
600?
838.
Oh.
838.
We can think that. So we all go to sleep that day. 838.
Then there is something for everybody.
Right.
From the 5-year-old to the 105-year-old.
It is.
From the kindergarten person to doctors to lawyers to everybody. There's something
Yes.
in here for everybody. And also, I would be remiss, we also have compiled the executive summary, which lists the beginning paragraph of every one of the sections. And you can also download that online at www.bpep.net or
Go a little
Coalition Against
slower.
Violence.
Her lips are moving kind of fast.
Coalition Against Violence.net, all one word.
Okay.
And it contains the table of contents. And as I said, and I'll just read a couple of the.
That's a good
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Because somebody will say, well, what's in there?
Right. That was my next question.
See that? You're
Okay.
smart.
Well, it's in alphabetical order. So we talk about anti-bullying strategies. We talk about the arts community, the black business community, the wider business community, the foundation community. We talk about domestic violence prevention, communities of faith, gang and violent street groups, the role of government, healthcare, internet and social justice, restorative justice, rehabilitative justice, juvenile justice, mentoring, senior citizen crime prevention,
You read this one also.
workplace violence prevention, of which Marlene helped to write.
And the
That's right.
OFA.
And the youth and violence prevention,
Right.
which was written literally by youth,
Yes.
mainly the
That's
young people
powerful.
from
Yeah.
Voices Against Violence, and they
Yes.
came to a session and they
Couple sessions, yeah.
actually wrote the
was very
section on
powerful.
youth and
Actually, we
violence
stopped the press
prevention.
of the, remember that?
Yeah,
On
I
the
do.
first
I
document.
do.
Yeah,
It was so
yeah.
powerful. We had already given the thing to Pitt, and we had another
Right.
session. Kevin, you weren't here then. But we actually, I called the university, I said, don't go to press yet. We found some more strategies that the young people identified that need to be in the document. And that's how, I've been around a while, but this was the most egalitarian process of how this document was created. Whoever was around the table, we collectively decided
Yeah.
an agreement of what the am I right,
That's
Valerie?
right, that's
Of
right.
what the language was gonna be.
Right.
Yeah.
Tim Stevens and I decided, Valerie didn't, we
Right.
decided.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And if
a
somebody had
telephone.
and if somebody had a problem,
Yeah.
we would listen to that and we'd try to resolve
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah, it was very
We had to
collaborative.
Am I right?
research
Yeah,
something,
we
we
had to-
research it
right.
first, and then we
Right.
get back to it, and
Well, yeah, and two of the newest, this third edition includes violence against women and girls and violence against the LGBTQ community,
Yes.
Yeah.
which is transgender people, or as far as if you were going to rank outside of maybe black on black homicide, like transgender people, women, and now immigrants. I mean, this
Absolutely.
thing covers the
Wide
gamut
ranging.
yes, it's very comprehensive, very comprehensive. What I really love about this document is every single strategy that's in this document, it starts with a verb, action. Tim always say every meeting, action.
Action.
So that means this is something for you to do. This is not just a book that you take home, read while you're in the bathroom, or
True.
put down in the bird cage or anything like that. This is about some real action. If you want an actual document, we can get you one. If you're going to commit to some work within it, if you're not going to do anything to sit on a table, then, or just share it with your neighbor if you
Take
don't
the
see anything.
short
that's
version.
Yeah, and if you're already
Let's
working
take the
on it,
executive
whether
summary.
if you're already working on it, say you're
Yeah.
a social service agency, which we list that in there, mentoring, that if you can find suggestions for things that you can do at your workplace to
Yes.
further the work that you're doing. Because there's so many organizations out here that are quietly doing this
Yeah,
work.
it is.
So people say, well, how come the problem is continues if you got all these people working on that? But we know that it takes people to work on that.
It does.
Well, also
It
people
does.
are in these organizations.
Marlene Ramfield.
Marlene Ramsour, our former
you.
treasurer and
Finance
longtime member of
The
the
finance chair.
planning council, BPAP.
Well, I see a benefit also in all the organizations within the city of Pittsburgh adopting all the strategies that are in this, in their human resource departments. Sometimes some of the organizations will have workshops. Instead of them going and trying to develop things from the very beginning, they could take this document itself, and everything's in there for them. All they have to do is tweak it a little bit according to what they're teaching to their people, and they'll be able to really motivate people into preventing any kind of violence that goes on, like I said, within the workplace. And this is very, very, very helpful,
Right.
for them.
And even though, this was written in the African American community, there's violence in all
everywhere.
communities.
It is.
In all communities. And now, these days, you turn on the TV, violence all over the world.
Yes.
And some of it stems from the same reasons.
Yeah.
And we've always had interracial
Right.
partners on
Yeah.
this work.
Oh, yes,
Obviously, it's
yes.
primarily sourced by African Americans, but
Yeah.
we've always had white partners who worked with us in helping to write this thing and helping to implement. These two people right here are part of the implementation team.
Yes.
We just had a summit that they'll share. I was there and was very inspired by it. Kevin Mackin, I'm combining your names. Kevin Carmichael is an anti-violence advocate and youth summit coordinator, and Sharon McIntosh is the same. And I think it would be great, if that's okay, for them to share what they just came out of just the other day and what they're about to do very soon in another school. I'm sure.
Well,
Absolutely.
we would like
take a break?
Once again, we're going to take another break, but
We
I
can
do
do
want to
it.
say this, what I found very powerful, I like what I heard, explaining the BPEP and everything about it. You see a book and you don't know how much work,
Oh, my goodness.
put in it. It do not deserve to be just sitting on somebody's
Does
table
not.
collecting dust.
That's right.
If you open it, I'm quite sure it will grab your interest in whatever walk of life you're at, because we're all working together here. We all have to collaborate. We all got to help one another. It's like a ladder, it's like a linking chain,
That's
one
right.
thing.
That's
And when I heard about the young people, they were able to put in their input.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That made my heart smile
Absolutely.
to know that
Yeah.
it was some young people out there that was tuned in and not in the streets
Right.
with the violent thing.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's
Let me put it like this. I always say, we talk about the thug, everybody on the corner being a thug. Well, when you spoke of those young people, I said, different kind of thug. This is what right here. True heroes under God. That's what they were. And they sat there to that table
Yes, they
with
did.
y'all, and they included themselves. And I'm
Yes, they
quite
did.
sure
They
that
were.
that made them
They were
even
enthused.
that helped them as well as helping people know that some young person out there, everybody is not all bad. Everybody,
Exactly.
I mean, if you give a person a chance, you don't know what they can do. And with nothing more, we're going to take a break and we're going to come back
Luanne,
and hear
give me that
some
phone
more.
number, 412-212-8775. 412-212-8775. Write that down on your wall or something.
Yes, write
We'll
it down on
repeat
your
that
wall.
when we come back.
And use
We'll
it.
repeat it. And we'll be back with the two.
Kevin Carmichael and Sharon McIntosh.
Yes, so stay tuned.
Lord, I thank you for how you're keeping her, even in the midst of so much loss. You're still blessing her. You're still giving her strength. And we thank you for the connection that we made, and we pray that it'll last a lifetime. We know that you put some things inside of her that are going to help many, many women who have lost sons. And so I thank you that I can be a part of that. Lord, we love you, we bless you, and we honor you for the connections, for what you're doing. Continue to lead us, guide us, and direct us. It is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Hello, and welcome back to the Relief TV Talk Show. We're here with my co-producer, Lueana Cower. She is the mastermind of this program, and it's something that our hearts have been wanting to do for a long time. And I'm Valerie Dixon. I am the co-producer as well of the show, and we hope you called a couple friends to tune in on the show, because what we're talking about today, and it being Black History Month, the end of it, it's never the end of it for us. It's amazing to me that the shortest month of the year is Black History Month. So, but we try to get it all in while we can. We were talking about BPEP, the Black Political Empowerment Project, and one of the initiatives that came out of that is the Coalition Against Violence and the Strategies for Change document. This document, Building a More Peaceful Community, this is a work in progress for a challenge for all our communities, from A to Z on every level. And as we're asking other people to get involved and do the work, we had to step up to the plate ourselves. As a committee and an organization, no money, no funding, what has started from that to a point where people see the value of the work that we're doing and are offering us different venues to help us ignite some things and do some things ourselves. One of the things we're really, really proud of is what's being done in our schools and with our young people, because we know it starts with our youth. There are there are avenues that we have to reach our young people to let them know their value, and let them know that the world can be theirs, if they stay focused, and if we create, a bridge that they can get to the next level in life or where they like to be. And so, again, we want to reintroduce our guests that are working on some of those programs and projects in several of the schools throughout the city of Pittsburgh. And Kevin, I want you to introduce yourself as well as you share the program that you're doing, how it got started, where it's at, and some of the work that you guys are doing, because it's just phenomenal, and we're really proud of you guys.
So my name is Kevin Carmichael, and I'm one of the facilitators for our anti-violence youth summits with the Coalition Against Violence. And so what that looks like, just to give you an idea, is we go into local high schools and we work with students who are identified as leaders, who are not necessarily the high academic achievers, but students who are recognized as leaders, sometimes athletes, sometimes just those who students have been noticed to flock to. Mm-hmm. And so we work with those students to identify areas that pertain to their particular community in terms of violence. For example, gun violence reduction has been a staple. Mm-hmm. We were talking about teen dating violence a little bit earlier. Violence against the LGBTQ community is growing. In fact, they're one of the highest victimized populations. Mm-hmm. And so once we identify the areas that pertain to their community, then we work to bring facilitators in who have personal connections and experience with that topic. Okay. And so those facilitators then talk with the students, and we want that to be less of a lecture and more of a conversation. We want to start a conversation about some things and get them to see violence differently.
Oh, that's beautiful. Sharon, you guys, when you were introduced to the work of the Youth Summit and the concept of it, because we wanted to bring somebody in that really knew the audience that we're going to be working with and how you can incorporate the mission of what a Youth Summit is. What did you see it as, and the interest for you to say, this is something I want to be on board with, and how did your expertise kind of enhance that project?
Good question.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sharon McIntosh, and I'm also a Youth Summit coordinator. One of the things that was most important to me when I first came on board was for our children to be educated. I come from an education background, and so it was important that we got the information out to the students so we won't necessarily, the program started from a reaction, but we want to now be proactive. And so this is what Kevin and I aspire to do, is to be proactive, to give students skills and strategies on how they can prevent violence and to recognize it and be peacemakers and ambassadors for peace. So when we're looking at the schools and we're going in, we're getting envoys of students, leaders that are able to become the ambassadors for peace. And we spend time training them with the document on how they can do that so they can carry that message on well beyond the actual summit. The summit is kind of the culminating activity, but the social justice club that we build behind that is the club that goes on even after we're gone. Yes. Because we need to give them something that they can work towards each and every day to bring peace to their school and their community.
Well, I have a question for you. Like previously, I know 2 weeks after my last son, I began going to a boys group home, R.E.L.I.E.F, in McKeesport, and I speak motivational talks to the young men. I was thinking with something like you and this young man do y'all ever go to would y'all be open to go and share? Because I always give a message of the crossroads. That's my presentation to them, the crossroad, because I believe our youngsters with the streets, and all of the trying to be this and try to be that, and all of the the wrong kind of leaders, where they get a break from that when they're in placement. I tell them, hey, it's not an accident you're here. You're not arrested. You've been rescued. So that way you got a chance to start over. Because I come from my heart, because all three of my sons died. And they were murdered before the age of 20. So when I go see these young men, I can't help mine, but I try to lay out the bitter and the sweet with what I know from my experience, hoping to give them another chance, because it could well be their mother standing up there. So I was just listening to what you two do with the schools. I really think that if you would maybe think about it, that would be helpful to maybe come on board sometime and visit these young men in different places, because they have such good minds while they're in those placements. But the sad part about it, if they don't have some change of mind before they come back into the community, they fall back into the familiar thing because their friends didn't change. But if something so powerful as what you two do, going into the schools, if it could come into some of those group homes, you know, where them young boys are in placement, and let them hear that, hey, we can think different. I think that would be another chance to stop the violence, because I believe that, the young people, we ain't losing the older men, it's young men.
Yes, ma'am.
And they have to have another mindset, have to start there. Like I said, start before you go out the door. You know, because if you don't, time might not be on your side. Because I'm going to say, and I'll go back to you, because each one of my sons, my first son, I experienced placement with all three of my sons. The first son was gone 6 months, and he was in entertainment. He was on his way out, had all good mind. But 13 days after he came home, he was murdered at a memorial lawn party, of another youngster that was killed in Duquesne City. But then also my second son, he came home on his birthday, which was July 11th, and my mother's birthday is also July 11th. That was such a happy day. But 5 months later, exactly 5 months later, on December 11th, 2 weeks before Christmas, he was gone. So one was only home 13 days, one was only home 5 months, and then my third one was only home 4 months. So that's what I'm saying. It's so important. That's where I like what Mr. Stevens said earlier about, you got to be consistent. You know, you got to have action. Everybody talk about doing something, but I thank God that He helped me to channel my grief to want to help, because I want so bad. I don't want to see another mother go through what I went through, and I personally feel that whatever I go through, or any of us in life, is to help that one after us.
Yes,
so I just appreciate what y'all doing with those schools, because it's just a bad thing happening out there, and it's with our young people.
Yes, ma'am. And I just want to say to you that you have turned a tragedy into triumph for so many people, and sitting here listening to you. And we are more than open to going into organizations other than schools to present this program to them. This is what we do. We will come to your church, we will come to your community organization, we will go anywhere that there is a need for this. So we are absolutely more than open to do that, and we will talk about it further, how we might be able to assist you in that process.
That's really powerful. And that's how all this has started, from a conversation. You know, the document, just sitting around the table, having a conversation and bringing things to life. And that's why I always say this is a living, breathing document, the work that can come out of this Coalition Against Violence strategy book. And I did want to ask you again too, what schools are you guys actually in now, and how are you being received with the program?
Well, right now we're working with University Prep High School. That's going to be our next Anti-Violence Youth Summit on March 8th. Okay. We just recently worked with Stowe Rocks High School, and we had a really good reception from their faculty and their students. I have a couple of stories I'd like to tell about that experience. Really touched me. Before we even started our summit that day, I went outside to meet one of our facilitators, and there was a crossing guard who was sitting in her car, and she saw me on the telephone, and she asked me if I needed some help, and I said, no ma'am, we're having an anti-violence youth summit here today, and I'm outside to meet one of our facilitators. She put her car in park, got out of her car, and walked up to me and grabbed my hand and started praying with me. And she asked God to guide me, and she prayed for what we were doing and what we were about to do, and she reminded me that they are children, and it was amazing. I was in such shock. I can't remember exactly what she said. She was talking to God, and I was in shock.
Yes.
I received it.
You received it.
I received that, and He did guide us that day, and they did receive us. And I have some of the some feedback from them, anonymous feedback from the students. I'd like to read one if it's okay.
Yes, absolutely.
When asked, what did you most appreciate / enjoy or think was best about the course, This student said, "I appreciated everyone's own point of view and their stories they had about their struggles and how they came up from it. I respect it, and I'm very inspired by them." And so it's tough, some of the work that we do, and we feel like we make a difference. We feel that if one student even looks like they're listening to us, then it's working.
Exactly.
But to come home from an anti-violence youth summit where the faculty was receptive, down to the crossing guard,
Yes, sir.
and the students were receptive and they wanted us there, and then to come home and read this, it reaffirmed that what we're doing is meaningful, and it really touched me emotionally, and it was a great summit. Would you like
Maybe you need to write on that letter of confirmation.
Yes, definitely.
I'll just
One
put a
of the
little
things
star
that was-
on that one.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that was most moving to me was at the end of our sessions, we have what we have called the pledge, where each student is given the pledge, and they are to read it and then sign off on it. We don't get that back; they keep it. But at the Stowe Rocks in the closing session, we had a reader to come up, one of our co-facilitators, which is a young person from the school, and he led the reading. And what I noticed was, while he was reading, all of the other students joined in and read with him. And then at the very end, Tony stood up and said, "We need for you to say your name at the end of it to confirm and reaffirm your commitment to this pledge of peace." And they all said their names, and you could just hear it resonate all throughout the auditorium. It was so powerful until right now I can almost go into just tears, because they were so engaged in the entire process. And so I can't thank the Stowe Rocks, first of all, their board, for allowing us to present the program to them and then accepting it, and then being so supportive at the school level. It was a phenomenal experience, and we'd like to bring that to other school districts as well as to other organizations.
Absolutely. How would people that are interested in supporting you guys and volunteering and helping out with your projects, how would they get the same information? How would they get in touch with you guys so they can be involved?
One way is to go on the website. We have a contact us section on both the BPEP website and the Coalition Against Violence.net workshop, and just write us and let us know. Another way is to an email address for the Coalition Against Violence is cav.pgh@gmail.com. That's C as in coalition, A as in against, V as violence, .pgh, which is Pittsburgh, abbreviated PGH @gmail.com.
Okay.
And just send an email about, and in the subject, Youth Summit,
Yes.
and someone will get back to you. Or you can also leave a message at 412-212-8775.
Okay.
You want
so
to
much
mention what
for-
happened, that phone call I gave you?
Yeah, I just happened to be talking to Tim one day on the phone, and he's in Staples, second home. If don't nobody know, go to Staples any day. You will see him. And so, we were just talking about, some work that was going on, and at the time, a woman came in there, and she was a minister at one of the local churches, and she actually, noticed Tim and said, "Hey, I'm getting ready to, introduce the document to, some ministers at the church." She was having a presentation. She was presenting the document at church. Just so happens, timing.
She had the document in her hand.
She had it in her hand in Staples, and said she's on her way to give a session about the Coalition Against Violence, just out of the blue, So, people are looking at this. It's an opportunity for those who don't even know where to begin to come and get the document and open it up. If you just look at the table of contents, there's something in there for everyone, as Tony Lewis McClendon or Lois Tony McClendon always has told you. And, also, I do want you guys definitely to kind of, lead us out a little bit, but is there something else you want to share about this summit? Because it's very powerful, and we thank you so much for expanding the program.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. And there is something I'd like to add. Mrs. McIntosh alluded to it, how we talk to our young people about being ambassadors for peace. And so what that looks like is, what I like to do is I like to talk to students about what I'm tired of. And I'm tired of going to funerals. I'm tired of hearing of people going to funerals. I'm tired of the day of our Stowe Rocks Youth Summit, they have just lost a young person. And everyone is tired of it, and I think that's something everyone can collectively agree on across the world. And so what we do is, by asking them to be ambassadors for peace, we're asking them to stand up for what's right. So if you don't think violence is funny, then don't laugh. And we're not just asking that of our young people, we're asking that of adults, young people. We're asking you to spread the word. We think that can have a huge trickle-down effect. We think that it's powerful when someone knows that they can't show you a violent video and get a reaction out of you. And what we're asking you to do, is, you know what, and maybe that person, now they have to find something that's actually funny if they want to make you laugh. If you don't think violence is funny, we're asking you not to laugh, to stand up for what's right. And so that's what we mean when we're asking them to be individual ambassadors for peace.
So if, in our closing, I would like to ask each of you who came here today, if it's a young person out there, to give a young person hope, what would you use, what 2 words would you each use to give that young person hope?
Or
stay strong, or, can I get 2 words from each of you that's here today that maybe we can address it to some of the young people out there that might be viewing our show tonight?
Yeah, if I had 2 words to say to a young person, I would say be peaceful. We think that peace starts within us, and a lot of times if we own peace and that we're going to have a peaceful day or a peaceful experience or a peaceful conversation, then we own that, and we speak it into the universe, and so shall it be.
Thank you.
Like it.
Powerful.
Like it. About you?
I have 3 words.
Okay.
I see you. There's so much we don't see our youth.
Yeah.
We don't see each other. I know in African villages in the Maasai, first thing they say, they either say, "How are the children?" or they would say to a child, "I see you." And so if we see each other and let them know that I see you, maybe baggy pants and all, I see you, I love you, I know you, you're my child.
Love it. Love it.
You have purpose and destiny, and we want to see you fulfill it.
Amen. We have 2 back here we'd like to hear.
Marlene?
Okay, I have 3 words also. And the
Okay.
first I would like to say to them is, I love you. Oftentimes, these children don't hear it. They hear the worst side of what's going on in their home, in their schools, online. And we need to encourage them and let them know that somebody out there does love them.
Beautiful. Thank you.
I'm going to quote Bev Smith.
I don't know about
American
that.
Urban Radio Network for years and
Okay.
national television and everything
Yes.
in Pittsburgh. Get involved. She said it for decades. And that's what we need to do from whatever age from cradle to grave. Get
That's
involved.
powerful. That's actually what's on my billboards. Get involved.
That's true.
What about your 2 words?
Well, I'm going to say we'll be right back because we have a commercial.
That's more than 2 words.
We'll have a commercial that is going to really stand for everybody here today. And let's view this commercial, this last commercial. Thank you.
But the question is, are you willing to be a thermostat for change? One who impacts the temperature around you, of what's going on around you. That's what this lady is.
My 2 words, personally, is to love life.
I like that.
Well, mine is actually 3, and mine is you're my child. You're my child. That's how I see you.
Thank you. And I'm just so happy that we had this show today, and I'm happy for everyone that's watching tonight. I hope you have, if you don't have your book, you need to get out there and get one. You had all the information, and I have mine at home. Thank goodness. I believe this is the one I have from the last event. Yes. And I'm gonna go open it up again tonight. I didn't know, I didn't read it all, so I know what's in there all, so I'm glad I got a highlight and I have something that I can apply to. And I wanna say, in order to start your road to healing in anything in life, you must first recognize every lingering inward emotional feeling, and then you will begin your new horizon.
Thank you for joining us.
And good night. Tune in again, folks. Thanks.
Say now, but we get back up again. We fall down sometimes, but we get back up again. Yes, we do that. We rise back up again for a